Well, Lynette, what a great opportunity to come and speak to your group of interested individuals, I'm assuming. And I know you're well organized and your folks are probably online with parents and students. So what I thought I'd do is make something that moves along rather quickly, and you can always go back and replay it if I said something really interesting, if that happens. So you won't miss anything, which I think is always helpful. The slides are available. There's nothing super high-tech about what I'm doing. So I'm going to just jump right in. My slides, I did a little bit different format. My slides are probably 15 or 20 seconds each. Not a lot of writing on the slides. I've got about 55, so we'll move quickly. You can put a note to Lynette, and then she will send it to me via the little chat. So if you have something, dive in. So for students and parents, STEM. So I'm just going to go quickly. There's 1 in 4,000 athletes that can go pro or do go pro, and every STEM student can go pro. That's a quote from Dean Kamen around FIRST. If you're not familiar with FIRST, you should become familiar with it, at least in my opinion. 2009, what is STEM? STEM was defined in 2009 by the White House. It was an initiative to help our economy around, global competitive position to allow more jobs and people to work in high tech. So that's where STEM came from. Simply means science, technology, engineering, and math. You might see something that says STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And those are all good. Next one, rapid technology advancement. So it's really interesting, but we've learned more as mankind in the last year than in all time prior to that. That is just an amazing stat, and if you really think about how fast life is coming at us all, that is something that we're all living, so I don't think that's any surprise. Being a lifetime learner is now required. I went out to just friends, people I know. I'll chat about Hive a little bit, but we talk to business owners, we talk to CEOs, people that are in the industry, engineers, and being a lifetime learner, being a collaborator, being able to do is really important, and you'll see those slides, so I put those in. By the way, it's a parent message too. So supply and demand is the economics of employment. How's that for dull and boring? My background is economics. I consider myself a STEM. I'm in the actuarial world, and we love math. If there's a large supply of workers, the pay will be lower. What does that mean? Well, it means if there is too many people, then when the person goes to hire, you're going to get paid less. So what I want you to think about, what we're going to chat about, and what we'll get to, is an opportunity to say, hey, what should I be doing? Is STEM for me? What kind of careers are there? That's why you came on the talk, and that's what we're going to talk about. And that is good. So hold on just a second. I want to run a poll. So I'm going to change the screen here. So I would like to know, if I can do this correctly, 1 minute. So if you've not done this before, it's a text poll. And all you have to do is follow the instructions on the top. Once you use the text code, you'll be able to then follow. So if you follow the session, you're going to text 2233 to join, and it's Don Watza 662. So you're going to actually text the code 2233. That's confusing. And you're going to use the name over here, Don Watza 662, and then you'll log in the poll. And I'm going to go back to the slides, and we'll come back to the poll in a minute. I'll leave that on just for another second more. Great, so people are getting it. That's good. So the question is, are you on a STEM team? So I'll leave it on 1 more minute. Are we having any luck with others getting on? I have, I think, 5 or 6 polls, so it'd be good if we could see some others responding as well.
Yeah, Don, it took a minute for me to get everything right the first time. Once I got it right the first time, then it was easy to do after that. So you
Yeah,
might just,
thanks.
yeah, share that. You can see it on the right hand side where it says Don Watza. You have to the number you use is the 22333, and then the words you put in are Don Watza.
Right. So you're going to text to 22333. So
Is the
that's
phone
the,
number essentially.
yeah, exactly. And then you put Don Watson 662
It,
in the subject, and then you'll be linked in. You'll only have to respond. Anything you send then goes to the polls.
and
I'll leave it one more minute, but
Okay. And the other thing with that is because some people might have not had their phone real close to. The other thing with that is you don't have to do all caps.
right. I'm hoping to see some more responses here, so let's see what we get. If you're responding, if you could send Lynette a note on the chat. So I don't know, people could be having technical difficulties, but it's just phone. At my end, I'm switching between the poll anywhere and the app. So I mean, I'll kind of continue chatting.
Well, I have a question for you, Don, before we go on. So if I was going to answer this question, I would just answer A or B, correct? Not the 73092.
Right, A or B. So that should be working.
And then can you see the number of people who've answered?
Actually, it says it right here. So we only have 3 responses at the moment.
Okay.
And that you and I tested it to make sure it was working. I can move on. I mean, if we don't have the polls, or maybe it takes people a little bit longer. It did take a minute because you have to, set it up. So you're going to use the phone number is 22333 right here, and it's Don Watza 662. I decided to use the poll anywhere this afternoon, and I thought that would be good to use. So.
It looks like I have 2 people that responded, and I think they were trying to respond that they said yes, they were able to. So, okay, I'd say move on, and then maybe are we going to be able to see the codes to get to you again at the next one in case somebody's still trying to get a hold of their phone or something?
We sure will.
Okay, perfect.
So the point there to that poll was, we're trying to say, are you part of a STEM team now? Are you, interactive with a STEM team? All right, so we were just talking really briefly about pay and economics, and that's really important. And pay and economics is simply what drives employers to pay you. It's why STEM was relevant in 2009 for people to say, hey, we need to have better career paths for students, and it helps the country because we're more high tech, it pays higher wages, and in a global economy, we need to be competitive. So it's not, it's not super complicated. But it's important. It's really, really important. So, the point for me is you're going to do a job for 40 or 50 hours a week for 20 or 30 years. Basic math, this was 78,000 hours. So I know us parents maybe make it look easy, right? I mean, we go to work every day. So parents maybe want to engage your students in really what it means to go to work every day. And there's always talk about passion and what job to be in, and that is clearly it's important. But why not be in a job that pays you well? So the chat I'm having here is the same one I have with just hundreds. I've had this chat with hundreds of people over the years, but I've never put it into a PowerPoint. And when we try to place students for internships, I have the same conversation because we want good fit, right? We want students to do well. So I like this phrase, no plan is a plan to fail. Super important. So you're on the call because you are planning. So good for you. You guys get a gold star, as the people that are in Lynette's program or thinking about it or just connected to Lynette in any way. your interests. You're interested in, well, what does this mean? How do I do this? How do I make this work? So what I like to say when I, talk to a student is I'm chatting with them about, what is your plan after school? Plenty of students don't really have a plan, or it's kind of nebulous. What I'm asking you to do today is really think about what it really would be. And the way to do that might be, what are your interests? What are you good at? What are your gifts? What lifestyle is important to you? Do you want to live in the kind of lifestyle where you are now? Do you want to do something different?
Hey,
I've got
Don,
another poll on that. Yes.
I'm still seeing the poll, and I think you're pointing at.
Oh, I am.
So you have to switch
How about
back.
that?
There we go.
Yeah, I did have, yeah, so, it's a good thing. Technology is great. All right, so let me just go back. So here's the supply and demand economics. If there's a large supply of workers, the pay will be lower. Pay is higher for jobs in demand. This is what STEM jobs are. This is what STEM is. You're going to do a job a lot, and, parents, let your students know that it's not a given. You get up every day and you go to work and you do that a long time, and it'd be good to have a career that you're passionate about, interested in. You have the skills and interests in it, and what are your gifts? So this is where I was saying today what I want to chat about is, what are those jobs? How do you find them? But more importantly, how do you prepare yourself and be organized about an approach to go get that? So what lifestyle is important to you? So that ties with what your parent message is about, where we live is expensive, or where we live has certain characteristics, or, things like that. Okay. So I have another poll. I'm not seeing many more responses. I think I'll try another poll. What do you say? What do you think, Lynette?
Yes, definitely. While you're trying to I'm going to tell a story. How's that? You get the poll started, and then I'll tell a story. We'll give everybody a chance to see if we can get them on.
Do it.
Okay, you start them out in the poll.
Okay, so here's your poll. So where do you hope to live and work?
Okay,
In
and
a
now
place
I'll
like I
tell my
live
story.
now?
I'm going to poll too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so my story is, a few months ago, I got a book off Amazon called Worthless. And it was an economics professor at the University of Minnesota, I believe, who wrote a book about degrees that may not be as worthwhile, I won't say worthless, but as worthwhile as other degrees. And he kind of made that point that of supply and demand. And the thing is, there are a number of reasons why there aren't enough people in jobs that that are needed by employers. And one of them is maybe people just don't realize those jobs are available. Okay. Another one is that it's hard. And math and science is sometimes hard. And his point was, and I thought this was a valid one, because in my office we're always talking about, how do you save college expenses? And of course, graduating in 4 years instead of 5 years saves college expenses, and those kinds of things. But his point, and I thought this was a really good one, was, listen, if the work is hard and you need to not take quite as heavy a caseload or a class load, but are able to be successful in one of these fields where there's huge demand right now. There are, areas where the demand for jobs is so strong that, Don, I know you know this too, that that students are being recruited for, college graduate level jobs, but being allowed to come in and work internships when they're in high school, because the employer is so looking for loyalty, right? And hoping to find people. You see this all the time with students who are in pre-pharmacy, pharmacy programs, and they become pharmacy techs and work their way through at a Walgreens or a Rite Aid or something like that. But I guess my point is, if it's hard, that limits the number of people you have to compete against. And if you have to take it just slightly slower, that's better than not doing it all. So there's my story.
I like it. I like it. So I'm not sure the poll was working, Lynette. I put it up, and I think I'm not sure I did all the settings right today. But anyway, it's good. For those that are attending, just respond to Lynette, and you can, give me some feedback. And it's always random to talk to nobody. So the point is, what are your interests? What are you good at? What will the career support that you want to be part of? So this is to your point, Lynette, right? You have the economics professor who says there are jobs that are worthless. Well, the fact is there are jobs that are really underpaid. So can you name careers? Do you have friends? Do you know friends? Do you know people that are getting underpaid? It is a problem. So here was your desired lifestyle. I'm just going to skip that for now. What is a STEM career? So how do you know if or which STEM career is right for you? So maybe I'd ask everybody to respond to Lynette and put, do you know? So everybody send a chat to Lynette and she can just kind of give us a rough answer. If you know what STEM career you're interested in, put a yes. And if you don't know and you're not sure, put a no in the chat box. And Lynette can kind of summarize it and let me know. So not all STEM careers are the same. So not all STEM fields are created equal. So this is the same point. I have a poll on this, and any guesses what a chemical engineering person is making versus an agricultural science person. So I'm just going to I'm going to skip the poll here. It's kind of nice to see what you're thinking, but I don't want to hold things.
I can tell you right now, I have 2-to-1 students are thinking they don't know, and they are thinking. So more students are thinking they don't know what they want to study than they do know want to study. And to your poll earlier, somebody answered that they want to live in the area. So now we have 2-to-2. So 3-to-2 students who are thinking they know what they want to study, a little more than students who don't know what they want to study.
So, okay, so in the same way, maybe everyone could respond to Lynette, and we'll take 30 seconds and put in what you think the chemical engineering median salary is as of 2014.
And
so then, Lynette,
just so students understand what that means, okay? So median salary means after somebody's been a chemical engineer, about half their life, on average, what are they making, right? Is that kind of how that would be considered? Not somebody just coming out of school, kind of the average there. It's really all the people working as chemical engineers, and then you average it together. So people at the end of their careers and the beginning of their careers. And so just guess, I'm not going to tell you, okay, I have a 150, I have a 90,000, I have a 200,000. I like this interaction. 125,000.
Okay, that's good. Let's do the other. How many? So what are the numbers if they now put in agricultural science? And obviously, the point for me was let's do the extremes in STEM, because I don't want people with the impression that every STEM career is the same. If they're not,
Right.
They can really, really vary. And I'm not, there are plenty of careers that are good that may not make, it may not be about the money for someone. But that's the lifestyle question. If it's not about the money for you and it's about the work, then at least know that going in. So what are you getting on agricultural science?
Agricultural, I'm getting 75,000, 60,000. I haven't gotten any other answers. Really?
Yep. So when I get phone calls and they're just, people are really upset and struggling, and they're not understanding. It's because an agricultural science person will come up and say, "Well, I did a STEM career." It's not enough, as a STEM career person, this little chat with you is to help you be the problem solver a STEM person would be. So engineering, science, you're using the scientific method, you're going about things in a practical way. I mean, this is certainly how I live my work life every day, and I think most all people that are in this realm, that's what they do. They are problem solvers, and problem solvers problem solve for your own career. This information was in a Google search on trusted sites, and I've included the site names. So, make it your business for the students to go out and look, because you're the one that's going to do 78,000 hours of work. Do you want to make 78,000 at this amount a year or at this? This is totally fine if this is what your passion is, agricultural science. So I'm not going to disparage it, but you need to know what you're giving up, right? That there's a trade. That's what economics is. Okay, I'm done. Oh, just kidding. Should I replay it? Should I go back? Economics. Are you motivated to take some action? But hey, what about other STEM jobs? Right. Okay. What are other STEM jobs? What are jobs that are in STEM? Maybe you want to do some homework of your own. Of course, you have schoolwork. My mistake. My bad. But for those students, if you don't do the work, you will never have the opportunity to figure this out. Lynette has great tools. Your schools have great tools. Make sure you make the most of those tools. So parents that are sitting with their students, I remember doing this with our first. It's hard to be motivated about something you don't understand. And when we took, parenting classes, we learned about students, and one of the first things they were teaching us about raising children was age appropriate. It's really, really important. Your students aren't prepared to anticipate what the world of work is going to be like. They have to do some homework, and you're sitting there next to them, help them figure out what they need to learn. And we'll talk about some specifics here in a minute. So, where to get information in addition to Lynette? Bureau of Labor Statistics. The acronym is BLS. Occupational Handbook. Careers.com. Payscale.com. I think I had another poll in here somewhere, but too bad the poll isn't working, huh, Lynette? Next time. So I don't know if I'm going too fast or too slow, but they're just quick messages. I'm trying to encourage the conversation about what is it that you want to go do, because it certainly isn't just about the money. It's about what are your skills, what are your gifts, what are your interests. So the DOL, for industries projected to add substantial numbers of new jobs. So advanced manufacturing, automotive, construction, financial service, these are areas where STEM was expected in '09 to be hot, and they continue to be hot today. I don't think anybody with an Apple iPhone or a Droid isn't aware of how much is packed into a phone. So maybe you have to be older to appreciate it, but there's a lot of technology packed in there. I spent some time down at TechTown, and at TechTown they have a lot of developing companies. So a lot of entrepreneurs doing apps and just all kinds of entrepreneurial invention and creation. It's all in these spaces, advanced manufacturing. 60 Minutes, I think it was, last night, had the robotic car, the driverless car. Google has driven 1 million miles with 23 goofs, where they had 23 accidents. And they said 100% of those were from human error by the other driver. So I thought that was funny. So a lot of fields, a lot of areas are doing and expect to be high demand. So here's top 10 high demand STEM occupations. So these are top 10 STEM occupations. These will, because of supply and demand, pay better. Engineers, computer specialists, mechanical engineers, industrial engineers, computer programmers, civils, network computer software engineers. So I think the top 6 are software. Oh, 6 of the top 10. That's what it was. I was looking at it earlier. 5, 6. Yeah. So, computers is dominating the top. It doesn't mean there's not good. I've got a chemical engineer, I've got a biomedical in school, and I've got another who's maybe mechanical or civil. This is where engineering is going. Here's a document. There's a source up here at the top, which, if you get the slides from Lynette or she reposts it, you can take it down. It's from the STEM Coalition. This is where I'm at. This is the industry that I'm in. So I'm in math. It's what I do. Here's a whole host of others: foresters, hydrologists. And this is only what I could put on where I thought you could read it. There was another whole half of the page that I didn't put on. But super important to recognize, what career area you may want to go into. I've got a nephew here. You can name people in these areas. So, reach out, talk to them, find out who they are. Don't narrow yourself to just the common ones, because if your passion is a particular kind, that may be available in STEM now, where maybe before it wasn't. So before I kind of blast into some others, Lynette, any feedback? Are we getting notes back or questions?
No notes or questions.
Okay. Well, for my own schedule, I'm on time. I'm on slide 28, and I figured 30 minutes in we should be at 30, so we're okay. Maybe I should try the poll again. Should I try the poll again?
Let's try again. It worked for us earlier.
Well, there were 13 participants, so now 13 people have responded.
Oh, great.
But I don't know where the responses were. I think we'll just leave it alone for now. Although if there are 13 responses, you know what? Let me just see if I can do this. Do you have any other stories, Lynette? Am I on the right path?
I have another story if you're working on that. So one of the very, very, very best pieces of advice that I give came from you, Don, and
Me?
your wife. Yes, absolutely. So, and I'm talking specifically to parents. Don and Linda said their son came home from college at Christmas, his first year home, and they sat at the dining room table and they got out a piece of paper. And they were trying to find a great, meaningful co-op or internship for their son. And rather than letting him kind of work through the process in college by himself, they sat down with this blank piece of paper. They talked to him about what kinds of things he might like to do in the summer for an internship. And they wrote down every single person that they could think of that might have some kind of connection to a job he might be interested in. And then they networked through that, their son in particular making writing the emails and so on and so forth. And he ended up with an amazing summer internship freshman year. And this was when the market was not good. And
that was 2009.
Right, exactly. And he had an internship every single summer. Really great ones. But it was because his parents got involved and helped. Because, like you said, students are limited by what they know. And in all honesty, they're, what they know and what they can find on the internet. But they really need parents to help them piece through. And I have another family on the other side of town that helped their son secure an amazing internship in the tech center, the tech program that you were talking about downtown. And they did the same thing. They sat down with a piece of paper and he said, this is what I think I want to do. And they networked everyone they knew until they found somebody who helped him get this internship that wasn't really posted. It was not, not open, posted anywhere on regular places that a college student would look. So this is the time when you can teach your kids to network. I've seen some of the best success stories come from students who were brave enough to talk to their friends' parents about their jobs. So, and everyone who's talked to me at any, for any amount of time knows I think job shadowing's key and important, and there's nothing that replaces it, and it leads to really great opportunities. So, that's my advice.
No, I like it. I mean, that's I didn't realize that was a story that you've been telling. So I mean, we could try another poll, but I guess we'll just keep going. I think this is working. I don't want to mess with technology that's not working. Clearly, everybody's wanting your success. So how about you? Want to invest in you? You can find a STEM career. There you go. So here's an example. I did a little looking, and it didn't take me long. Just went out and I said, okay, in the last year, what job is in demand and doesn't have much supply? Here you go. Industrial engineer shows a wide gap between annual openings and completions. 8,700 openings by 3,000 graduates, 3,700. Do you think the companies that are trying to hire industrial engineers have to compete extra hard for this difference? Yes, definitely, right? You're seeing my screen, right, Lynette? I think that's a yes.
It is a yes. I was muted.
Okay. No, it's okay. So I went out and polled some friends and said, hey, I'm going to do this chat. What do you think? So here's what they told me. And this is what I've heard over the years. So it's not anything new. STEM takes extra precision, more time to learn. It's harder than many other studies. Importantly, it teaches you to think. So you're going to see, I don't know, a half dozen different people, CEOs and CFOs that I've spoken to, and all of them unanimously said it teaches them to think in a way that they become good problem solvers. And I think that that's really important. Sadly, one of the comments I do hear a lot is they say a lot of students who want to aren't prepared to. So my message to you, especially if you're giving this some thought, is really evaluate what your gifts and interests are, because if you don't have the gift for math or you don't have the interest to really work at it, then you might set yourself up for failure, and that might be worse. There are plenty of good jobs. The economy in the U.S. has picked up, so that's nice. I'm encouraging STEM, but as engineers and leaders tell me, it's not for everybody. It's a narrow group of people that seem to be able to be successful at it. I think it's the hard work and the discipline that makes a difference. So if you're willing to put in the time, anybody can learn math. Anybody. I get into arguments sometimes because I say that and I make somebody mad because they say, well, I can't do math, or I was no good at it, or I think, and if I put up my magical little triangle, I would show you a triangle, and at the bottom is a layer of little cubes inside the triangle. And on top of that layer is another layer. And on top of that layer is another layer. So picture the triangle with multiple layers, many layers. If the triangle, which is your skill in math, when you get to the top and you're in a career like I am, if you can't do one of the cubes at the bottom, you can't be successful at the top. And it's really important to be able to say, gee, if I need a tutor in math, I'm going to go do that. Don't put your career interests aside because you're not willing to get a tutor. If all you need is a tutor in practice, we'll spend so much time in sports, but we won't spend time in practicing math. And math is a door opener. Sadly, when people don't work at it, it's a door closer. If there's athletes in the audience, you know how hard you work at your sport. Imagine working as hard or harder for the career you're going to spend 30 years at. What CEOs tell us? Finding quality talent is their #1 priority. Are you quality talent? How to know if that's you? Good grades aren't enough. So this is a news flash. So, good grades just aren't enough anymore. That's like a given. Yeah, of course you're going to have good grades. Good school isn't enough. Good ACT scores isn't enough. I know this is a huge burden. The reason for that is we're in a global economy, and there are plenty of people that want our lifestyle in other parts of the world. So You know, STEM careers are great. They're also great for people in other parts of the world. Owner comment, combine your theory and practice. He went on quite a bit, but the essence of it was you can learn a lot of things in school that if you can't turn it into something that you can practice, it's not as useful. CEO comment, it's the same as the last. Hiring is not 1 and 1 equals 2. It is 1 and 1 equals 8. So for those math people there, it's exponential. Get it in your mind that, yes, hiring really good talent is really important. And you have to put yourself in that way, which you're doing. I mean, you're already in front of Lynette. You're already talking about these things. So I'll keep moving. CEO comment, do something. Be a doer, not just to sit in a class. This one was really all about, again, someone who's engaged, they're collaborative, they're working in groups, they're on first teams, they're, you know, it really wasn't about what they were doing, but that they were engaged in being productive in groups, learning to work together so that a difference in opinion can be a success for a better outcome, not an upset between people. An auto exec comment, and this was years ago, I heard this one. I can't believe new hires have never changed the oil in their car. Super floored by that. So what is the point? Well, the point is he wants people that are doers, that have, if you want to be a mechanical engineer, perhaps you should get under the hood of the car. You know, things like that. Here's a CFO. So math, science, technology, and engineering are always in demand because it's not easy. He just boiled it down to that simple. And he said they'll deploy people with engineering degrees and non-engineering jobs because they know that they can be good problem solvers. Another CFO comment, the discipline that you build from doing the repetition to be successful at math, so I was mentioning math, is a key indicator for success in being able to be a problem solver in your career. So this particular CFO is a friend, and he's a CFO and an engineer, and he made a funny, he said, well, what problems are you going to solve? Because we were talking about careers. He said, well, I don't care what career it is. If you can show me that being in basket weaving solves a problem for someone and that they will pay for it, have at it. And that really, I mean, that's a great way to summarize the economics of STEM. If basket weaving was profitable for corporations, they'd be investing in it. So maybe someday one of you will invent that. You'll be doing that. So large CFO, global company. Foundational learning of math and science build on earlier education. Kind of echoing the story of my triangle, actually. Here's a chief marketing officer of a large multinational company doing business around the globe. So his take was, you know, it used to be sales was kind of a people skills activity. He said that's not enough. Math, he said math is vital. Math and technical skills on a resume are a must. So if you're sitting and saying, hey, I'm going to be in business school, great. You still have got to get the math. You've got to understand the technical aspects of whatever it is that you follow. So this particular person is selling to the automotive parts, for lack of a better word. Anyway, the old days of relationship and lunch doesn't cut it anymore. You compete with cultures around the world who want your lifestyle and are willing to put in the work. Roll up your sleeves, so become a doer. So, Lynette, you want to see how many people think of themselves as a doer? Maybe they can send you a note?
Sure.
Okay. So send Lynette a quick note and say whether you think you're a doer. Are you getting any? So just put in the chat box, you know, yes, I'm a doer.
I have 2 doers, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And a no. And then second no.
You know, Lynette, I think that speaks highly of you. They're doers. Okay.
Okay,
So,
I'm going to challenge these kids who said they are doers. Two, how are you going to use this information today? So if you say I'm a doer, I spent an hour and 45 minutes coaching someone this morning on how to do well in an interview to get to secure a spot in PA school. And the whole time, every time she answered one of my questions with this kind of answer, and I'm a doer, or I'm hardworking, or I'm at what, I challenged her back and asked her, give me an example that shows me you're a doer. So my question to you, and you don't have to answer this, but I want you to think about it, is tell me or think about what you have done that shows that you are a doer. Okay? Because saying I'm a doer is easy, but giving an example of how you get things done will really show to you and your parents and other people that yes, you do take command of the situation and get things done, and you can be trusted to do those things. Sorry, go ahead.
don't be sorry. Spot on. Okay, so make a plan. That's the third time I've mentioned it. Make the plan adaptable. I know I already said make a plan, so I'm saying it again. I'm sure others have said make a plan. What does a plan look like? I'm going to give you a few bullet points and some ideas of things. I know it's a lot of repeat in some of this from what Lynette has said, but there's a reason it's a repeat, because it's obvious to the adult community, and as you grow into an adult, that the missed opportunities is when you weren't making a plan or you weren't a doer. So I have a friend who I joke and I call him the DIN man. Do it now. And it's true. Just do it now, because that's the way it's going to be. It's just how it is. So where's your plan? Let's cover a STEM plan quickly. All right. Line up your expectations. Really important. What are you good at? What do you like? What are the gifts that God's given you, perhaps, or what is it that are your talents? What do you enjoy doing? You're going to work all day, right? And you're going to be at it. You're going to compete with it in a global market. So it's good. I mean, the rest of the world is busy making plans. Why not you? Are you up for the challenge of the STEM degree? All right. Info gathering, so job shadowing, internships, co-ops, network, ask family and friends, which we've already talked about it. In the Old West, how'd they know the train was coming? They put their ear to the ground. Do the same. Listen and learn. Begin to choose a direction. What I would tell you is, as a person who's been around a while and runs a business, is ask questions. Your parents, your parents' friends, your family members, your aunts and uncles and grandparents. People love, one of the gifts that children or students yourselves have is that people will listen to you if they know that they're being listened to. So if you ask them a question that will help you, you will get information that maybe you didn't expect. Hey, grandpa, grandma, or whoever, how did you get into work? What did you choose? How did you choose it? What direction did you go? How did this job come to be? Whatever the person is that you're with, don't wait for someone to recommend it. Put on your boots, put on your running gear, and go out and run. Don't walk, run into the next conversation to ask people. Figure out 4 or 5 good questions to ask. How did you start your job? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? If you had to do it over again, what would you do? I'm telling you, you will have more conversation than you want. And it'll all be directed at things that help you. I think it's just put your ear to the ground. That's all I'm saying. Let's take an example. So essentially what I find myself up against with most students is they have a notion that isn't backed up or isn't relevant to real life. So they might say, oh, I want to be a caregiver. But when you challenge them and I get very specific, and I say, well, that's great. Do you know what a caregiver gets paid? Well, do you know that they're in very mobile jobs? Do you know that they work odd hours? Is this the lifestyle that you want? It's wonderful. We need caregivers. I have good friends that are MSWs, and they're very committed people, and that's awesome. We also need people in STEM careers to help our country and themselves, right? Nurses are in a STEM career, but they're very low paid relative to the skill set. So what am I suggesting? I'm not suggesting that you drop the idea of nursing. I'm suggesting that maybe there's an element or a component of nursing that might be, if you go back and look at economics and ask people, that might give you what your interests are and that you're good at and that you like, but in a career job that also is in demand and will pay you well. And why would that be bad? So again, this is typically the talk that I'm having with people every day as I'm helping them figure out what direction they want to go. So internships or co-ops must be safe. So let me get into some things that through Hive we try to place internships, and we try to, huddle around them and navigate employers and make things good. So I will mention, if anybody wants to participate with Hive, you can go to hivefoundation.com, or you can go to our Hive Foundation web page and click on sign up. So it's hivefoundation.com, and you can just put your information in. I'm always looking for internships, so if you need something on the resume, I'm sure if you ask Lynette if getting on a resume something like co-op internship is good, of course it is. So come and work with us. If you're an employer or you're at an employer who's looking for talented students, interns, new hires, recent grads, we're trying to grow that by helping students be well planned. So internships, we're looking for safe places, well planned, written guides. So a written guide to me is something that you're interactive with your your leader, provide meaningful work, engage the young mind, have exposure to multiple areas. Maybe you're doing some menial stuff, because that happens, but you're also getting exposure to executive meetings or decision meetings or design or whatever your interests are. They should not be clerical, undirected, or be used for cheap labor. I think a student who's interested in STEM should really have an opportunity to accelerate their future and be a doer because they're in an internship. That's what that CEO is telling me. Oh, I love interns that have experience that's relevant to the job they want to apply for. Perfect. Remember, be a doer. This is the point of that other, executive. Entrepreneurship is a really hot topic. I think if you're in the STEM careers, you can easily fall into being an entrepreneur by mistake, and there's a lot of support for that. Or if you have a desire to do something on your own is great. We need entrepreneurs. Let's see, just keep moving. Highest and lowest paying STEM occupations. This is May 14. Here's your petroleum engineers. This is a chemical engineer. Architecture, engineering managers, natural sciences managers, computer. So these are highest paying, and these are lowest paying. So here's your agricultural and food science people down here.
Don,
So,
can we just take a survey here?
Yes.
And can I just ask you to put in the chat box, why do you think those high-paying jobs are high-paying jobs, and why do you think those low-paying jobs are lower-paying STEM jobs? If you look at it and you look at what those jobs are, can you tell me a little bit, just in the chat box, parents or students, what makes the difference? So somebody answered more skills and higher demand receive more pay, right? I think in many cases you'll see that, petroleum engineers, engineers as in general have to do more math, right? And so people start to move away from that when the math gets tough. And the other thing is, I hear people often say, I'd like to work outdoors. I don't want to work at a desk. And honestly, in the last week or so, I've kind of taken a turnaround to this, and because a lot of young people spend many hours a week in front of a screen of some kind. So to say I don't want to work at a desk all day doesn't add up with what you're doing all day. So think about how you live your life every day. And if you spend a fair amount of your time in front of a screen, then, these jobs that are lower paying, you notice many of them are outdoor kinds of jobs. Um, and it is a supply and demand issue. So just something to think about as you're looking at it.
Well, and I try to broaden people's, so when I speak to a student, I usually encounter something that's STEM-like that they hadn't thought about. So you can tweak your interests for music. This is an example. You could be a technician and record live events, and you're using equipment, you're being in a vocational role, you wouldn't even need a degree. You're a roadie, so to speak. Or you could combine it with an engineering degree in, sound engineering or, electrical engineering or a discipline like that, and then design the actual equipment. You're still in a field that you like, but you've expanded what you can do and how the world will reward you. Economics is nothing more than how does the rewards work in the world of work. And it's not fixed. Employers don't have endless dollars. They have to react to, I sell something for $100 and my people cost me 40 of that, of which my engineer is 5. The math is very, very simple in that regard. So you can have your love of music and your career. It's kind of, the suggestion I would make. The point to me to the chat, and then, take questions here with the last few minutes left, is to go into your career with your eyes wide open. Match your life's expectations with the reality of the economics and how hard you're willing to work. So STEM by itself sounds great, but are you up for the work? And that is one of the reasons why it's what Lynette said, that there are people that get paid very, an actuary in my business who's been in the business for 20 years. So this is all math. And yeah, you sit at a desk, they're making north of $400,000 a year. It's a very good career that a lot of people just don't have any exposure to, and they don't know what it is. So, I've talked to many a young student who thought about doing actuarial work, and then they end up doing other things. But anyway, so the last one I have is a poll, but the poll's not working. The question was, are you ready? Do you have an idea of, you have to go do the hard work. I can't spoon feed it. If anything, this one that Lynette was looking at is a good slide. But all of that's available. I found it in 3 minutes. So why don't you submit questions that I can answer, or Lynette, and hopefully this has been helpful to you and motivates you to go out and get her done.
Okay, I'm going to ask one more poll, and you can answer, either reply in private, or you can answer, just reply or just put in the chat box. But could you do one thing for me before you leave? We've got 17 people on. 2 of us are on as presenters. The rest of us are not. So 15. Could 15 people answer in the chat box on 1 to 10, 10 being the best? Was this webinar useful to you? 1 to 10. Okay, just as a way for feedback for us. I'm not going to use it for anything else but that reason.
That I would like, if they're going to respond, I'd like to get some feedback about what were there, because I thought about diving into more of the details around, petroleum engineering. Why is, but it always seems to me that what I just covered is the normal 90% of the conversations I have with students, because I know they have career counselors at school, and I know, parents and other people that they know, but the ones I speak to seem to really struggle with, well, what am I going to do when I grow up? Which, it's a big question.
I agree with that, and I think some people really struggle with that, and they have a
But if they could respond also and say, you know, did this meet what they were thinking, or would they have like you said, 7 of them said they were doers. Well, maybe that meant 8 weren't, and if 8 weren't, then maybe this was spot on. But the doers are like, I've already done that. I already know that. I'm ready to go. In which case, I'd be happy to do another one that's got, have them send me what they're doing, and I can see if I can help them out. I mean, I guess I would offer that. If anybody wants to chat with me, you know, I'm happy to chat with anybody to help. I'm really passionate about helping students discover incredibly satisfying careers that also pay well. And why not? They're there.
That's a really, really good point too, because okay, so I would like you to put a 1 to 10, 10 being this was a very useful webinar. Um, if you if you would like more detail, more specifics, tell us what you would have liked it to cover. More skills higher. Oh, that was the last comment. And then also, of course, I know how to get a hold of Don Watza in every direction. So if you would like to get a hold of Don Watza and and use the resources he has available, then all you have to do is write me a quick email and I'll forward it to him and he'll reach back out to you. Okay. So it's as simple as that. Don and I have similar goals, and that is to help as many kids as possible be as successful as possible. And he's got this wonderful Hive program that he didn't spend much time talking about, but it's a nonprofit organization that helps match young people, high school, college students, with employers in STEM kinds of fields. Did I sum that up correctly?
You did. You know what I can do here, because I appreciate that. I just put it on the screen, so you should be able to see it.
Right. So if you Google it,
I would just say
Google
I
Hive
did not.
Foundation.
Well, I did not have an intern this last summer. The work that I'm doing, so Hive is 100% volunteer, including me. I've invested tens of thousands to try to get it seeded to go. I'm looking for adults and companies and anybody who's interested. So that would be my, sales pitch. But the goal is to help the students, help the mentors of teams, and help the companies. And so anyway, Hive is this site that you're looking at was an intern who built it, Emily, who built it a year ago, and she did it all. So the foundation had gotten a few bucks, and I hired Emily as a summer intern to build this. And look at, she did this nice Facebook thing, and isn't that snappy? So she put out a join here. So it's a survey. Yeah. So there's your Hive Foundation registration form. It gives us a little bit of background on you. But Emily built it all. I need other students if Hive is going to grow, because it's up to the students, parents to make it happen. But thanks for letting me put that up. I always like talking about Hive.
Great. And I didn't realize a technology issue here too. Lots of comments, and mostly all of them were very positive. Um, and I can share a little bit of that with you kind of separately too. There were certain kinds of careers that people were asking about, but I think that's a really good example of, if you're a doer, you can go use the resources. Occupational Outlook Handbook is a great place to start. Trade associations are a great place to start. Nonprofit organizations are a great place to start to find that kind of information. Sit down at the dining room table with your parents, brainstorm everyone you can think of who's in that kind of career field or might know someone in that career or field. All of those things will help you get ultimately to people who are doing that.
Here's one, Lynette, that I came across recently called PayScale. I thought it was quite good.
I did too. I saw that site just recently also.
Yeah.
And I'm going to
Well,
come back
and
and
really,
I'm going to tell you I'm going to just mention one more thing that you kind of highlighted, but I don't think young people or their parents necessarily understand it. Um, the market is very different for young people coming out of college than it was for their parents coming out of college. You mentioned this a number of times, but I'm not sure they understand what it means. It's a global economy. In this day and age, it's very simple to hire someone in India, in the Philippines, in anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world who wants our lifestyle and will do the work to get there. And I once had a client many, many years ago who said his job had been to lay off his engineers and hire overseas engineers. And he thought it was important that his child do some kind of job that you had to do face to face with someone or right there. And he used me as an example. And he said, like your job, Lynette, you're here, somebody has to come to you. But I will tell you, I work with a family in London, England, and I work with a family in Brazil. So with the internet and with Skype and with technology, you can work with anyone anywhere. And in this day and age, you are competing in a global workforce. And it's really important because now companies have started to realize, and I talked to someone who hires CAD, people who've studied CAD, and he said the problem is I can't hire somebody who's never driven a car to, design a car or a screw and it goes back to it's hard to hire somebody in the car industry who's never changed the oil, right? So there are unique
right.
things that you have that that make you more qualified, but it is an environment, and it's only going to get worse, not better, where, in all honesty, it's going to be those people who can take the information they learn and apply it in a way that brings value to a company. It goes back to what you were saying about, can you build something? I can't remember exactly what it was, but can you build something that other people want to buy? Right?
Right. So,
Go ahead.
yeah. No, right. No, you're spot on. So, every one of those people in the PowerPoints that I spoke to all have and or can hire internationally. They don't have to hire anybody from the U.S. They all, I mean, yeah, your job could be outsourced, like you were saying. You could be, you're doing work around the globe. So, but it also then presents tremendous opportunity, right? I mean, I'll give you one example. I had a music student approach me and say, I really want to do music, but I understand the STEM thing, so how could I make that work? And we got chatting about it, and I said, the YouTube world is mushrooming. If you don't follow it, I'll just tell you. YouTube is mushrooming because it's available, it's free. It will be like Channel 2, 4, and 7 used to be. It will have advertising, and people will put all of their materials out there. What's mushrooming is companies are racing to do a lot of their advertising through video on the internet. Well, this is a huge demand for our art center. So down in Detroit, as an example, they have collaborative now with CCS, which is the College of Creative Studies, which is art, and Wayne State and Techtown and engineering, where they're trying to collaborate and put together answers. And they have, I don't know, I see it in cranes from time to time. U of M put engineering and art on the same part of campus. So, don't let your dreams go away, but challenge yourself, and go spend hours digging to find yourself a career, and then go find who those people are that you want to talk to. That's why I really can't spoon feed each person with what their interests might be, because you have to go do that. You have to do that. Your parents can't do that for you. You have to say, well, I'm really interested in these 5 things. I could see how that might be a thing in 10 years, or that would be a great question to ask adults. Well, I like these 5 things. If those were all connected together in 10 years, how do you think that would look? And you'd be surprised. I mean, adults are creative, really.
Really.
Even us math guys. So I know you're overtime on that.
We are a little over time. But for all those doers out there, one assignment I would give you is write down those 5 or 6 or 7 questions that you will ask adults. You see adults every day, parents of your friends who are doing jobs that you honestly do not understand. Ask them, what do you do for a living? I mean, how are you going to find out about different kinds of careers? And if it turns out to be something you're interested in, then talk to them about the opportunity to come in and see what they do in person. This is how you learn about these things. This is how you find opportunities. And those of you in high school, even in college, this is how you show potential employers you're a doer. When in high school, you've done many job shadows. That tells a potential employer, hey, this person is in charge of their life. This person is taking control of what they're doing. This person cares about their future. So those of you who are doers, that was the best question, Don. I appreciate it. Please write down those 5 questions. Stick them in your pocket, laminate them, and put them in your wallet, and ask. Adults, every day, ask adults. I will tell you, I think the number one key to success that separates, besides that you take everybody, and take 2 people and they have the same degree. I think that the thing that tips the scale and why one might be successful and one isn't successful is their ability to talk to adults. So this gives you the opportunity to practice that at the same time. I appreciate everybody being on tonight. Please, if you have a suggestion as to another topic you would like to hear, would you like more detail on this? We do have some other career kind of topics coming up. If you as a parent have something you can talk about, I love webinars where I don't do all the talking. So please put in the chat box any suggestions you have. We would love to hear them. Thank you.